Hey chat. Hey everyone. Hey amazing, beautiful community. I'm gonna steal that one from Vlad Vexler. So good to see you. I've been stalking you for the past 10 minutes. Really, really good that you're here. Love you all right away. We're gonna have a little bit of a, I guess, slower chat because we have, let's put it this way, because this is a surprise stream. It's also a surprise for my moderators, so not all of them were ready. So we'll see if any moderators will join, but please don't be surprised if you see just a little bit more trolls than usual. We are also 1,600 people watching it right now, which is incredible, guys. Thank you so much. And let's start this discussion because, whoa boy, Russia is not having a good week, does it? Like, tell me, what do you feel like? Like, obviously, tell me where you're from, guys. Don't forget that. While I'm happy here. Obviously, yeah, 80,000 is very nice. We're gonna talk about it more. But Russia is not having a good week. Russia is having a week that one would say is pretty bad, and we all know why, right? Budanov is has actually said it out loud. Is that that very soon Russia is gonna find out. And I was really worried about at some point, like how much forces Ukraine has actually accumulated, and what's the actual how do you say, what's the actual capability of Ukraine to execute on its promises. But now we've seen some people kind of come back from Ukraine that got probably roughly briefed about what's the counteroffensive is going to be like. I also got some additional analysts' input on about like what's the actual number of troops that Ukraine is going to be using. And to be honest, I was actually right. So it's going to be closer to 20 brigades that are ready, not like 9 and so on. So it's really bad news for Russians. Really, really bad news. But that's like bad news in a big sense. In a smaller sense, that's news that one would compare to, well, I don't even know what to compare because none of it that's happened so far, none of the offensive that happened so far, Ukraine has really had any kind of man or weapon, like not man, like less, because manpower kind of was there, but not the prepared troops advantage. Because, for example, Kharkiv offensive, it was nice, but mostly Ukrainians were using light vehicles, and they were just exploiting the fact that that Russians did not have too closed of a lines there. So they exploited the fact that it was basically like a thin red line that was populated with troops. And as soon as that thin red line broke, then Ukrainians just kind of broke in and there was nothing for them inside. So all of the Russian troops started running. That was good, but it also was the problem that Ukrainians couldn't really encircle a lot of the troops from Russia that run because there were just not enough Ukrainian troops available for that attack. On Kherson front line, I was very surprised because I think it was not said loud enough. Some people think that Kherson, the whole offensive in Kherson, now in retrospect, that it was some kind of a walk in a park, that Ukraine and Russia just kind of stared at each other and maybe, shoot some artillery over each other's heads, and then Russians just decided to leave. That is not what happened, guys. There were a lot of really, really painful, really bloody battles there. A lot of good Ukrainian men died in that offensive. There was a lot of battles there. It was not easy. It needs to be said. But ultimately, Russians were there in a completely untenable position. And while Russian forces at that time was still these battle-capable troops, like VDV troops and so on that were in Kherson, but even then they had to crumble because there were just not enough supplies for that. And then Ukrainians won. But there was not a single break. Well, there were like local breakthroughs on the Ukrainian side. We saw the territory, slowly decrease part by part by part. So there were some local breakthroughs for Ukrainians, but none of them came cheap. Like all of them were paid in blood handsomely by the Ukrainian forces. And now, but again, this important part here is that Ukraine didn't have a massive advantage in trained manpower. They didn't have a massive advantage in for example, engineering equipment. Like engineering equipment was severely lacking, like severely lacking for Ukraine. I'm actually, I know you're going to be asking questions. I'm going to start this. If you want to ask question me, new system, guys, I know you're tagging me. But I'm going to finish my speech, but please use this. This is Q&A. Okay. Yes, there we go. So now I started Q&A, and now you should be able to ask me questions. So, but yes, so Russia was able to start this. Basically, or not Russia, but Ukraine was able to execute on this, but it was able to execute it only at the cost of a lot of Ukrainians, and it never came easy. It never had the advantage. Right now, we definitely know that Ukraine has been accumulating forces for the good half a year. Moreover, something that I told you last year is that delivery of vehicles, delivery of ammunition, deliveries in general by the Western powers, we're going to start seeing the increase of it. I was talking about it when even the infantry fighting vehicles were not on the table. It was like last November, December. So what we see right now is with the new year, support for Ukraine is growing rapidly. Even now that that we're seeing that Ukraine is already preparing for the counteroffensive, we're seeing even more vehicles being promised to be delivered to Ukraine. Even now, we're hearing of more capabilities being promised to be delivered to Ukraine. One of the major ones, obviously, is F-16s, of which if there is like a 50 delivered F-16s, oh boy, they're going to change the whole battlefield. That's going to be a complete game changer for sure. So all in all, we can say that Ukraine has stopped being on a level where they had to exploit Russian weaknesses. Right now, Ukraine is in a position where they can literally crush Russians. Now, Russians have defensive positions, yes, but we already talked about it multiple times. The defensive positions are only as good as the Russian forces. And the problem of the Russian forces on the front lines is that a lot of these forces that are right now in those trenches, they were just reconstituted forces. So Russia, not the proper way to do and deal with the forces when, for example, a unit has suffered casualties would be take unit out of combat, put it essentially in a safe zone to the training camp, put new blood in so they can exchange experience, train them together, make sure that they're working correctly, good together, and then put it back. But that's not what Russia did. Russia just kind of sent new Mobics and they put them in the same groups where Mobics already were. So there's going to be a lot of bad problems. Anyway, the point is, what we're hearing is that Ukraine has incredible firepower already, and that is why, like, when I heard this confirmation for me today, that when the news came into my a chat, essentially, I was like, yep, I'm ready to put my money where my mouth is. So essentially, I said that I am betting $2,000, my own money, not like YouTube or the money that I would otherwise donate to Ukraine, $2,000 extra essentially to make sure to donate to someone basically if Ukraine is not going to be attacking in 10 days, like this big offensive where what we all want to see the Russians being crushed by the tracks of armored fists of Ukrainian military. If we're not going to see that in 10 days, then you guys will choose where that money will go, to what charity. Obviously, I will not support Russia. If you propose to me that this money needs to be donated to some kind of Russians, I will say fuck you and ban you on the spot, and you will never come back. Thank you so much for being joking about it. But any kind of charity, any support for Ukraine. Now, if I win, I'm expecting us all to donate and help on some kind of additional program that we can help Ukrainian military otherwise. But maybe I will be able to save some of that money and buy my wife something. Or maybe I will donate it. Once again, never mind. That's basically the situation. And we're going to talk more about what's happening in the north. Obviously, we're going to talk more about what's going to happen with Moldova, because Maya Sandu said that she's considering Ukraine, inviting Ukraine to come into Transnistria and essentially solve the Transnistrian question. But first, let me read a couple of things that you wrote here. Blue Eyes 58, thanks so much for 10 gifted memberships. That's very much appreciated. Hans Eriksson, cheers from Sweden. Thank you so much. Cheers from Denmark. David Oliver, I think it would be good if Ukraine offensive was Bakhmut. Well, not Bakhmut, more Solidar, Klishivka, the surrounding areas of Bakhmut, or greater Bakhmut. But I trust in the armed forces of Ukraine, and I'm no expert. Yes, guys, obviously, the important part, like, I think that needs to be said. I don't think that needs to be said, but still. No one knows the future. No one knows the plan of Ukrainian military. Only Zaluzhny and maybe a couple of his generals knows the plan. I'm pretty sure the plan that was even told like to some of the American politicians and other visitors in Ukraine, it was just kind of like the big part, the big parts. They might not even tell where exactly they're going to attack. But the point is that Ukraine can strike anywhere. And while we think that it's going to be in the south, it's more of an educated guess rather than definitive, because potentially Ukraine can retake Donbass. That is true. That is true. Tavarasul, welcome to Brother in Arms. Welcome. Okay, let's see if this Q&A works. Okay, am I Q&A? Okay, yeah, wow. Whoa, yeah, I see. Let's go, questions. So Q&A works. I see your questions, guys. Very nice. Let's go. Darren Harrison, Discord event possible? Yes, we should do Discord event. A Discord event will be done. Dusk Tropic, are you sure of 20 brigades? Yes, I'm quite sure. The sources that said that it's closer to 20 brigades, like it wasn't said like it's going to be exactly 20 brigades, but they said it's like it's going to be closer to 20 brigades, yes. Scott Trails, from an outsider view, but again, like I don't think that I'm being lied to. This is a trusted source that I really trust, but it might be wrong. I might be completely wrong, but this is what I'm getting, and most of the time I'm right. Not that I'm, you understand. From an outsider view, Zelensky looks like an absolute legend. Yes. How do everyday Ukrainians see him? Oh, it's a good question to ask you, everyday Ukrainians. But they definitely like him a lot more than it was. I think a lot of people that had problems with Zelensky, I'm quoting Starsky here, that they understand that he really took control of the difficult situation, and they're grateful for that. I am not sure if he will go for the second term and if he will be supported on the second term. Is the offensive taking place in the Russian territory right now? We're going to talk about the Russian territory in just a little bit. What is the conference in Moldova we hear about? I believe it was Zelensky joining Sandu for the visit to Moldova. Was it not? Let me check. I know that they were giving a press conference together. It's a fighter jet coalition. It's a fighter jet coalition in Moldova. Yeah, okay. So I didn't realize that it was in Moldova. But yes, Moldova hosted a fighter jet coalition. Wait, no. Zelensky visited Moldova for the second European Political Community Summit discussing military support, security, peace, and membership in NATO and EU. He also met with Moldova's President Sandu, and he met with the fighter jet coalition from Denmark, Netherlands, UK, and I cannot see who was the last one. Sorry, the last person. The person sits with the back towards the picture, and I cannot see by the name, by the face who it is. Okay, what is happening near Vuhledar? Some small part was taken by Ukraine yesterday. Start of the offensive. I think it's probing attacks. I don't expect it to be because offensive doesn't start at one place. Ukraine creates tension usually on the quite a large front line, so it's not gonna be like we're gonna have something starting in just one place. It should be starting at multiple places. It can be a start of it, but we'll see in a little bit. It would make sense. Vuhledar direction is very, very important. Getting to Volnovakha would be amazing for Ukraine. Will Russian spying in Ukraine have a major effect on the force concentration? Will Russian spying in Ukraine have a major effect on the force concentration? No, I don't think so. Like, I mean, Russians has been spying in Ukraine since the beginning of the war. Ukraine has been fighting this whole war with Russian spying in its midst. Like, there is so many spies inside of Ukraine for Russia, but they're still lacking they're still having problems with intelligence. Should Crimea be an independent country belonging to neither Ukraine nor Russia? How does Ukraine justify that Crimea belongs to Ukraine? I wanted to ask this long ago. I mean, Crimea is Ukraine. That's kind of the starting position. Your whole premise and discussion here is completely flawed, and the fact that you're even questioning, like, there is a reason why Ukrainians ask, like, who does Crimea belong to, as a like, you know, question to check for how shitty a person is, like, because they know if a person is like, yeah, you know, Crimea is difficult, it's like, you know, Crimea, and it's like, no, 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 no. Russians came into the territory that they recognized as a territory of Ukraine. They came in, they overthrew the power, they took over, annexed the territory by the military means. It's like it's a black and white thing. So any kind of discussion around it is just a little bit of it's just a how do you say, piece of shit tap dance. Let's put it this way. Yes. More questions. Oh my God. Wow. Oh my God. I'm gonna tell Ali that this really doesn't work. Is it possible that Ukraine will wait for Abrams and F-16s? No. Too long. Too long. Ukraine has about 4 months, 5 months maybe, to execute. So like June, July, August, September, October is already, you know, questionable. October, the weather can be already gone. So it's like literally 4 months. If Ukraine waits 2 months, they're going to have 2 months for the offensive. That's not enough. That's not nearly enough. Do you think, so weather plays a big role here. Do you think support is sufficient from US and NATO? No, I think more support is needed. But because, look, has Ukraine won this war? No. Therefore, more support needed. That's my logic. But the support has been quite good. How long until Russia runs out of money? I wouldn't expect it. They are running out of money, but they are running out of, well, I mean, by the end of the year, they will have extremely serious problems with their fiscal policy. They'll need to solidify on it, like they'll need to figure it out, but they're already doing actions. So as much as it hurts to admit it, like, they are trying to play in advance before they're running out of money. But the trend is inevitable. Like, Russia is burning a lot of money and not getting a lot of it back. Are the Russians moving troops with incursion by the Russian Legion? Yes, but I will talk about it in a bit. Do you think the fall of Putin regime can lead to the fall of pro-Russian regimes in Europe like Hungary and Balkans? I don't think so. I think they will change the rhetoric, but it will definitely weaken them. It will definitely weaken them because a lot of them are being paid, like they're being sponsored by the Putin's regime. But then again, like there's going to be China that's going to be probably paying a lot of money. So while I think the Russian influence will go, I believe Chinese will pick up the check. U-24 for drones. Yes, agreed. What do you think? Why hasn't the Kerch Bridge has been destroyed by missiles yet? I figured this would be a primary target. So I've looked at this, and Kerch Bridge, firstly, right now there is a big discussion. I mean, I will show you. Kerch Bridge. There we go. So right now, the new thing that people and everyone else is discussing is this. Oh, there we go. Can I put it larger? So they noticed that Kerch Bridge has some issues. Now, it's known that the geology, like the layers of the sands of the bridge that is built on, is very, very unstable. It was the thing that prevented a lot of bridge building here before. This is pretty bad. Does it mean that the bridge will collapse right now? No, it doesn't mean. But this is a weak spot. This is a weak spot that Russia has actually reinforced before. There are pictures of Russian essentially engineering squads trying to fix and solidify this. But this shows that there are actual faults in the construction of the Kerch Bridge. If Ukraine will target, for example, this part of the bridge, there is a big chance that it will not hold. So, my thought is that while the bridge is not being destroyed right now, is what the analysts that I'm listening to are saying, and they're saying that it's an important morale effect to strike the bridge. Firstly, there might be like Ukraine might not have capabilities to strike the bridge, because one of the major things that we've seen what Ukraine did by using Storm Shadow missiles is they're using Storm Shadow missiles together with decoys. So they're sending in decoys and they're sending in Storm Shadow missiles. So potentially, while Storm Shadow missiles can fly that far, potential decoys can't. And we know that there is a lot of anti-air is concentrated around the Kerch Bridge. So Kerch Bridge is not easy. Secondly, potentially Ukraine wants to get closer to the bridge to strike it with more confidence. And thirdly, there are analysts that are saying that it's a bigger morale damage when, for example, you have already collapsing front lines, and then there is a strike on the bridge, and then Russians are like seeing that there is no escape. And then basically the situation is that Russians are like panicking, that there is no way out. Surrender or die, literally, that you will not escape by the bridge because there is no bridge. So it's a quite an interesting part. My money is on Berdyansk. Yes, Berdyansk would be very nice. Wagen burner. Okay, wagon burner. When they start the offensive, Ukraine will be very strategic in what part they take and when, because they need to be able to hold the land that they regain. Do you agree with this? Yes, definitely. But again, Ukraine has incredible amount of forces like prepared for this. It's really, really impressive. When will Belarusian Liberation Army join the raid? Belarusian resistance fighters are already fighting within the ranks of the armed forces of Ukraine. Where do the Iranian drones launch from? Is it possible to destroy drone warehouses? Drone warehouses are in Crimea, but the problem of Iranian drones, so they're launched as so there is like a truck that is driving with like, and it looks like a normal truck. When it drives into position, it kind of angles its like, how do you say, like this back, the storage compartment of that, and then they roll up the cover from that storage department, and there is actually like launching pads for like, I believe it's like 5 or 7 drones per truck. So, and then they have basically, I can try to find it. Give me a second. What is it? Iranian drone truck. Yeah, there we go. There we go. There is actually a picture of this. So that is how it looks like. You see? So there is a truck, and that trucks contains some of these drones, and then these drones are being launched. So launching the drones is like really, really fast. So it's not really possible to, you know, intercept the launcher because it looks like just a normal truck. It's very, very hard to do so. And besides, it's like, you know, you destroy 1 truck, what about the other 20? So it's not really a problem. Tuesday, 6th of June, D-Day. Yes, Al, for sure. Lady Blue, if Russian troops begin to surrender in large numbers, how will Ukraine handle that? There are people responsible for that. I would like to brass statue Alexander Ivanovich Matsievsky in Kiev. Yes, I think heroes of Ukraine deserve statues for sure. OCT, thanks for 5 gifted subs. Appreciate it. Okay. Ooh, a lot of questions. Okay. AVH Runa. Rune. Hey. Ask the chat what kind of merch they'd like. Yes, guys, please write what kind of merch would you like, because we have already oh my god, we have already a shop. We already started thinking. I'm gonna give you a small potential preview of some treats. It's like a joke. Don't think about it too much, but it's a nice thing. I will try to show you. Yes, it's gonna be pretty cringe. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Can I open it? Can I open it? Yes, there we go. And oh, it's such a cringe thing, guys. Sorry, but I must show it to you. Yeah, there we go. Oh, it's so funny. Yeah, but that was just like one of the ideas that people put up on what to do. Don't think about it too much. Yeah, it's nice. But I think we're gonna make some use of this, just to kind of, for the jokes. Yeah, it's super cringe. It's super cringe. I know. Do you think, did you solve your PC problems? Yes, I still in need, probably can help you out. No, I solved everything. It's fine. It's working nice. Thank you so much for that. Cyclone, do you think there will come a point where Russia has to withdraw from Ukraine, or will Putin just keep throwing people at Ukraine until there is nobody left? It doesn't matter. Like, the point is, at this point, we already are at the stage where it doesn't matter. If before we were talking about that Russia has already lost strategically last year, about, like this time to maybe like start of the autumn, September, we talked that Russia literally lost strategically, that they cannot do their strategic objectives. They cannot capture Kyiv, they cannot capture major cities, they're fucked. Then during the winter, Russian essentially military command, they stated out, okay, let's put our objectives a little bit lower. Let's set out our objectives to maybe on operational level, set it out to maybe capture Donbass, and maybe capture, area around, Bakhmut, area around Sloviansk, Kramatorsk, and most important, let's recapture the initiative from the Ukrainian forces. And Ukrainian defense forces were able to hold all of that. That meant one thing, like, because the risk was that Ukraine will have to utilize its reserves that obviously Ukraine is preparing for counteroffensive to then counter the Russian offensive. But Ukraine didn't. Instead, Ukraine used the forces that it had before, like for the defensive operations. And while it cost a lot of Ukrainian lives, they did succeed to completely stop the Russian offensive in their tracks. So at that moment, when Russia was not able to advance past Bakhmut, essentially by, like, what was it, March, after they started that operation, they couldn't advance anywhere. It was clear that at that moment, Russia has lost operationally. And like in the military things, like strategically, it's like a big map. It's like strategic objectives is like how to capture a country. Operational objectives is like how to capture a region. And then tactical objectives is like how to capture a city or a state or a village. Or like, because that's like a small scale. So the only kind of place where Russia is still being able to move for now is on tactical level. But that is before Ukraine starts its counteroffensive. The point is, the question that was before Ukraine when Russia started its offensive was, can Ukraine defend without utilizing its offensive forces? And now, when Ukraine is going to be offensive, the same question goes to the Russian forces. Can Russia defend without utilizing its reserves? And I am almost 110% confident that Russia will need to utilize its reserves. And when we're talking reserves, we're obviously talking trained troops, because one thing we definitely saw from Russian attempts at offensive at the start of the year is that newly mobilized cannot execute offensive action. Newly mobilized maybe can go forward, die in trenches. Like, they are okay with that because they're passive, because they're just, they're just like docile. But they cannot execute complex actions that require coherent force and so on, because they're just not getting trained enough. They're not getting trained in a combined arms. They're not getting trained how to work with engineering squads. They're trained essentially, you sit on the tank. When tank stops, you get off the tank and then you fire at approximately where the enemy is. That is the extent of their training. And that's what we saw, for example, under Vuhledar, where a lot of these newly trained Russian forces sat down on a tank in front, tank drove through the minefields, and then it was followed by some of the APCs behind, and then a couple of them got hit. Some Russians jumped off of APCs, some other APCs or infantry fighting vehicles turned around and tried to run over the mines again. Then they get hammered by the artillery, and it's a complete nightmare. The point is, this all shows only one thing, that newly mobilized Russian men cannot execute offensive action. Who could execute offensive action was Wagner forces. Despite Wagnerites being as brutal as they are, as shitty as they are, compared to the rest of the Russian military, they were basically the only one that were able to execute proper offensive action. Second part after them was the VDV. The problem with the VDV was that they are kind of being closely monitored to not suffer as much casualties as possible. So they're trying to be saved as much as possible. So a lot of these VDVs, while they're still there, they are not accepting the same casualty rate like Wagner does. Because Wagner, like as I said before, if Prigozhin wouldn't fight against Ukrainians, then he should have been given a medal for the amount of Russians he killed. He was like a mass slaughtering Russians by Wagner forces. It's like tens of thousands. Like, no military commander in a modern warfare scenario would ever be even like closely okay with such level of casualties that Wagner forces had. And not just the prisoners, but also the core of the Wagner forces. And only when he understood that he is in a situation where Wagner forces are about to be exterminated, period, and then he's left with like nothing, because at that moment he is irrelevant, only at that moment Prigozhin is like, okay, I should probably get the fuck out. And at that moment he started like doing all this weird tap dance with the media and everything else, trying to figure out how he can get out of Ukraine and survive with majority of his at least core forces intact. Now he's more or less found a way where he's like leaving Lolik and Bolik in Bakhmut for the Russian forces. But that's what we need to understand. So now Russia is in a situation. Ukraine is attacking. Russia will be forced to utilize its any kind of battle-capable reserves. And after that is over, Russia will not be able to execute offensive actions on tactical level. So we get Russia cannot do strategic level. Russia cannot do operational level. And after this offensive, I am almost completely certain Russia will not be able to do a tactical level. And the army that cannot attack, the aggressive army that cannot attack, even like to capture a city, that is a dead army. It means it's just a matter of time. So that is the long answer to where do I think this war will go. And sorry it took so much, but I just think that it's very important that we understand why I'm saying with such a confidence that Ukraine is winning and there is no turning back. Yes. Klaus, thanks so much for 200 kroners. The unfortunate downside of Q&A chat is that I don't see live chat. So and there is no like these donations, they don't appear. So if I miss your donations, sorry for that. I will need to figure it out. John Hammer, Russia moved in 600,000 to 1 million people into Crimea since the occupation. What do you think Ukraine will do to them once they liberate the country? Well, most of them will run. Most of them will run. The one that collaborated and supported the Russian invasion will be dealt with by the Ministry of Justice of Ukraine. The other ones will be deported to Russia because they are illegally on the territory of Ukraine. People inside Crimea, Russians inside Crimea that came in by a carriage bridge, are people that are on the territory of Ukraine illegally, and not just it's how do you say, like a punishable affair, like people can be banned from entering Ukraine. It's like illegal immigrants, basically. They're going to be treated like illegal immigrants. Okay, liberate Moldova. Please tell more. Yes. Okay. So Moldova, in Transnistria, there is a part of the region of Transnistria which is part of Moldova, where Russia started one of its first hybrid campaigns. It was kind of the first boiling pot for what later becomes the doctrine of Gerasimov, this hybrid warfare, where there are Russian troops that are supporting some kind of local separatists or local militias or local, crime gangs, and arm them in order to destabilize the country. Since then, they've exploited the Russian questions in Transnistria, because this goes all the way to the Stalinist era, where Moldova itself was created essentially as a Transnistria for Romania, because Moldova, and this is no offense to Moldovans, because now it's a separate sovereign country, we know that. But historically, it was created by the Soviet Union, by Stalin specifically, as a specific separatist region of Romania. So right now, that what was previously a separatist region of Romania now is a fully independent country. And this fully independent country, where a lot of questions are, should they or should they not rejoin Romania? But that is a question for the citizens of that country. And in that part, there was a sliver right in between Moldova and Ukraine, which is called Transnistria. And in that region, there was a concentration of the Russian forces, which, when Ukraine was still somewhat friendly with Russia, so they allowed these forces to entry. It's a completely landlocked state, so there is no way to get in, not by flight, not by land. It's pretty impossible to get additional reserves. And there's a couple of thousand troops there. They have not been very, very trained troops, but they have been there, and they have a lot of weapons in there, because Stalin thought that it's going to be like a front run, not Stalin, but a lot of Soviets thought that it's going to be a potential front runner, so Russia tried to save it. So they put one of the biggest ammunition warehouses in that area. Now, before we think about, Ukraine is just going to come in and take all of the ammunition, the Soviet-style ammunition, the problem with that is we know that these warehouses are mined. So most likely, as soon as Ukraine is going to start the offensive, the warehouses will get exploded. So we're going to see a big boom inside of that, unless there is something like this. So liberation of that would be desirable. So far, the discussion that we've heard from Moldova is that they were hoping that Ukraine will win this war and then Russian regime will go away. However, Maya Sandu's rhetoric has become harsher, and it is mostly due to the fact that there is a lot of separatist that's a little bit inaccurate. There is a lot of pro-Russian, Kremlin-sponsored hybrid movements that are trying to undermine democracy in Moldova. They want to undermine the European vector of development of the country, and they want to essentially be an enclave of the pro-Russian state. And they're putting a lot of money and spies and whoever they can get into to make sure they undermine it. And Moldova now tries to fight it. Today, Maya Sandu made a statement that it might, in a sense of like an allied operation, consider allowing Ukrainian troops on the territory of Transnistria. That is big. That is really, really big, because Ukrainians, they were eager to go, because for them, it's a lot of troops that they need to have on that front line. Otherwise, if it's just Moldova, Ukrainians can be almost certain that Moldova is not going to invade Ukraine. And while these troops, they're just like a couple of thousand and they don't play a big deal, Ukraine still needs to have units on that side just in case, because there is a lot of weapons there. So all in all, we are quite sure that if this rhetoric will continue, it will probably be some kind of planning. Like now that Maya has said it, potentially they will exchange the defensive advisors to potentially plan the operation. And once the operation is planned, like when the results of that operation will be clear and presented to both ruling bodies, both in Moldova and Ukraine, we might see that it would be agreed upon. I would consider that potentially, it's quite possible that by the end of the year, Transnistrian question will be solved. It's quite a possible task. Inga, thanks so much for 300 kronos. OCT, thanks so much for 5 gifted subs. And Jose Diaz, welcome. About 2,000 potential POVs. Yes. We need to understand that, like, for Ukraine, it's nothing. Like 2,000 troops in Moldova, in Transnistria, that's not even like a question. It's like, if they don't need to participate in the major offensive, they can just solve it. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal at all. All right, more questions. There we go. We are 3,800. I believe this is close to a record. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. I want to ask, if we are 3,800 here, why is there just 1,400 likes? I love you all, guys, so much, but please share that love with me and click that like button as well. And potentially, if you can, share the stream to your social networks so other people see and can join and can talk with me and discuss some of these questions. 80,000, guys. 80,000 is a big number. I've posted today a post that last year, this time, there was 179 people that were subscribed to this channel. And I didn't even realize that it was people that were subscribed when I was just like a normal user, you know? I was just browsing around, you know, some of the videos, leaving comments, and I don't know why, but some people sometimes they subscribe to different channels. So what's interesting is that a lot of these people, 179, were not really like because of Ukraine. Because of Ukraine, I got like just a couple of views. I'm not sure if I can show the statistics, not show, but like see the statistics. And I will be able to show you that. Let's see. It doesn't matter. You get me. The point is, I'm very, very happy and I'm very, very grateful for that. I think we are doing really great job. I never thought that we will get this big. And the best part is that now I have so many good friends that I can talk with. Like, seriously, no bullshit. The fact that we can have these discussions with you are amazing. Like, it's completely blowing my mind, especially because, like, I'm living in Denmark and I have friends, right? But they're friends that I made during my studies in university. And I was studying in university on the other part of Denmark. So these friends, we talk with them, but not as often as I would like, and not as, like, some of the topics that I'm really interested in. Because, for example, I'm really interested in Ukraine, but they don't want to hear every day about Ukraine. They want to hear just sometimes. They sometimes just want to hear what's happening with them because they have their own lives. So that's why I'm really happy that I'm able to share my thoughts with you, and we're able to do some things. I love you all, guys. Thanks so much, Mark. Thanks so much for 300 bucks. I really appreciate it. All right, more questions. Let's go. Let's not get devolved into this. Okay. 1,000. I thought the leader of Moldova is pro-Putin. No, Maya Sandu is not pro-Putin. Maya Sandu is pro-Europe. Do you think that Trump is Putin's puppet? No, I think he's just stupid. Okay, not stupid. Like he is. He oversimplifies the question of Ukraine in his mind. I believe he still has the perspective of Ukraine from when he was the president. Because at that moment, Ukraine was this country that, like, that knew it was dependent from the West and it wanted to make friends with the West and so on. It's where a lot of these discussions about, I'm going to answer this openly because so people don't think that like I'm dissing on Trump just because he's Trump, because I think that's not really important. I can diss on Trump on anyone else in my chat any day of the week, and then you can disagree with me. That's fine. That's called democracy. Fucking great. Democracy is great. But what I think needs to be underscored is the way of thinking, the whole argument. Because the argument for Trump is that Ukraine will have to submit because we can always cut the supplies of weapons to Ukraine, and therefore Ukraine will stop fighting and lose this war. At this moment, we already discussed that Russia is quite losing it, right? And Ukraine is getting a lot of support. And most importantly, a lot of that support now is coming from Europe. And a lot of European countries are dead center on make sure to support Ukraine long terms. And I'm pretty sure even before Trump becomes president, there's going to be sufficient weapons supplied to Ukraine. We already see, and this is a great kind of leeway to transition to the Russians inside Russia. What is happening right now in Russia is destabilization efforts by I am guessing, the Ukrainian intelligence services, Budanov and the company, where what they're doing, and that's normal. Like if you study pretty much any war, and I'm pretty sure you can ask war historians, there's going to be some local separatists that are supported by the enemy state in the territory of their enemy state. So part of like a hybrid warfare. And we know that Zaluzhny is also big, how do we say, he always regards with a big respect to General Gerasimov. Gerasimov is the author of the hybrid warfare. So I'm pretty sure Zaluzhny, as brilliant military mind as he is, has thought how to incorporate more hybrid warfare into the campaign. So the fact that Putin didn't respond with force and escalation on the incursion into the Russian territory proper and bombing of Moscow already shows, like, I've discussed this like a lot about the fact that there is no red lines, Putin is not going to use nuclear weapons, that there is no red lines, period. But it was important to show it for a lot of the Westerners, because a lot of the Western allies, they still believe that it's like that Putin has some kind of control over the situation, that he's still in some kind of control, but he's not. Like there is no control that Putin is off. Putin is in a complete flow. He's not controlling anything. He lost the ability to control this war. The initiative and control of where this war goes is completely in the hands of Ukrainians, because it's their will and it's their military strategy that defines where and how this war goes. And this is also important for the Western parties, because what Ukraine was able to show is that they can go quite far without crossing Russian red lines. Therefore, even if Trump comes, even if the argument will be Ukraine is not going to get anything, there has been already enough momentum for a lot of forces both inside Europe and inside US and inside everywhere else to support Ukraine in almost whatever Ukraine is going to be doing. So even if Ukraine will be forced to do things on its own, there is still enough willpower to execute on that. Yes, so that's why the Trump coming will not change anything. And what is he Putin's puppet? I don't know. You decided on your own in US. I trust US to figure it out. I trust the people in US. Lil Bubs, give the land they fight on and the enemy are against, which Western tanks sent to Ukraine will perform the best on an individual basis. I don't know. I'm not a tank expert, guys. Like, seriously, ask someone that's really into technology, into all of these tanks and so on. You know, I'm a person that tries to understand big picture and so on. I was never very seriously interested in war technology or warfare and so on. And one of the reasons that I made this channel is because a lot of the talking heads that I saw online were the talking heads, you know, that are really fascinated by the war, that are really into this, that, you know, like they're looking into this with excitement and so on. And I wanted to have to be able to provide also some coverage that is like a normal person's coverage, because a lot of people around me are just normal people that have their day jobs, that they cannot follow the war 24/7, and they just need to have an understanding that is, well, simple and understandable enough. And I can do that. That's because it's just like data analysis for me. I have a lot of data inputs and I analyze it and I'm able to convey it to you, because data tells stories. And I'm hoping I was able to condense it good enough to tell stories, though not always condensing it good enough. Sometimes I'm just talking too much. That's true. T-Man, many Russians were happy Moscow had drones flying around. Why was that? I've explained it in a video. You should watch my last video. I talked about it in details. Okay. Let's see. H. Saurit, thanks so much for 13.99. I appreciate it. All right. That one I read. Richard Stevens, what is the news concerning the nuke power plant in Zaporizhia? Nothing major. Like, there are talks that Russia has mined it with satchel charges, but it's all just a, like, how do you say, to devolve discussion. It's like nuclear threat, nuclear threat, nuclear threat, nuclear threat. It's the same thing. Don't pay attention. It's literally nothing. It's the same as, like, Russia has nukes. Why do we care what happens with the nuclear power plant? I like McDonald's. Good for you. What is Ukraine allowing Transnistria to exist? Because it's a territory of Moldova. Overwhelm it and crush it, but just leave it by tying up a lot of troops to defend Odessa. Odessa is written with one S. Odessa with two S is a Russian way of writing it, firstly. Secondly, Moldova is the territory, it's a sovereign territory of... Transnistria is a sovereign territory of Moldova. Ukraine does not invade other countries. So that's why this discussion, the decision by Sandu is so important. Donna, thanks so much for $100. I appreciate it. H. Saurid, Ukraine matters. Has anything really surprised you lately with the war? Ooh, surprised. Has anything lately surprised me with the war? That's a good question. That's a very, very tough question. I'm not sure if surprise is the right way to say. I think I am just like the last thing that kind of surprised me was the fact that the Ukrainians didn't pull out of Bakhmut and they decided to hold it. I was really doubting it, but I trusted the armed forces of Ukraine, and the fact that it completely stopped the Russian offensive dead in its tracks was, generally speaking, like a big surprise. So that's kind of is there. That's probably the biggest surprise. There's a bunch of LSA here. Hey, welcome Leaf Spring Army. Welcome to the stream. I appreciate you joining. Hope you feel welcomed. Liberate Moldova. Please tell more. I just talked about it just a little bit before. You should unwind. Okay, I'm gonna catch up with questions. Do you think armed forces of Ukraine will capture Crimea this year? It is possible, Derek. There are scenarios in which Ukraine will liberate Crimea this year. Will it? Depends on if the scenario will play out. I don't know which systems, certain weapon systems will be mounted on. Ask this question, Perun, or someone else. Is Uncle Luka still alive? So far, we've heard rumors about Lukashenko, but I want to underscore, they're just rumors. Nothing of Lukashenko's condition has been confirmed by any of my trusted sources I don't know. Do you think that all the countries that help support Ukraine now will be there for them at the end of the war? And if so, do you think they would want a piece or a say in how it runs? I think I answered this question. I'm not going to come back because it's a very, very similar discussion. Claude, a lot of people are promoting the idea of balkanizing Russia. To me, this seems very dangerous as individual groups, warlords could get their hands on these weapons. What do you think? I mean, I'm not afraid that individual countries, smaller countries, get the hands of nuclear weapons. Ukraine had a huge nuclear weapons stock, so why? And then it was dealt with. That's the same. It's the same argument as a chicken Kiev speech. Remember, like the was it George W. Bush that came to Kiev and says that, oh, Ukraine shouldn't go out of the Soviet Union because, ooh, then Ukraine with nuclear weapons. It's the same argument. So sorry, not an argument for me. Danimal, thanks so much for $10. Found the songs I really love that I think you were quoting in the beginning with Hey Hey Hey, Chemical Surf, total banger. Hey Hey Hey, Chemical Surf, what? Interesting. Do you think Putin will lose the presidency if Russian force collapses? If Russian force collapses, Putin can lose a life. Hvor bor du I Denmark? Bare cirka. Jeg bor på Fyn. I live on the island of Fyn in Denmark. It's not tanks or FVs. The supply of power logistics is the way Ukraine wins. How well is that going? It's going well. I explained that Ukraine has pretty much crushed Russia in both strategic and operational aspects of this war, and now Russians are basically sitting ducks. They're sitting behind a cover for now, but that cover can be torn down. What one man has built, the other man can demolish. That's the rule. Island of fun, yes, yes. I live on the island of fun. That's true. Sorry if it's been asked. Incorporating Ukraine into NATO has been spoken about a lot today. Let's be clear with our how do we say? Let's be very, very clear with our wording here, right? Ukraine joining NATO on its own will has been discussed a lot today. It's not incorporating Ukraine into NATO. It's not NATO absolving Ukraine. It's not NATO capturing or something Ukraine. It is Ukraine and Ukrainian people on their own free will, on their own desires, requesting to join the defensive alliance of the North Atlantic Defensive Alliance. So let's be very, very clear with this. And there seems to be an urgency to do so. Conflict or no conflict, why is that urgent? Why does it achieve? It achieves lasting peace. Ukraine in NATO means no more war in Ukraine. That's it. That's what NATO does. Ukraine joining NATO is a peace. That means that there is going to be peace in Ukraine. That's what it means. That's it. Any chance of LPR, DPR surrenders, turn their back on Russia? LPR, DPR is basically Russia by proxy. So it's run by the Russian puppets. Will the Russian puppets essentially rise on the puppet master? No, but they will run. When Ukrainian forces will come, they will run. What would be a red line if there is a number of Tu-160s taking out of Olena's? Would that be a red line? I don't understand the question. Sorry. Epic and legendary. There has been very small advance in the Southern Front according to Deep State. What happened there? There has been a small advance on the Southern Front line. That's what happened there. When will Ukraine counterattack? Hopefully within the next 10 days, or it will cost me 2,000 USD. Think Wagner sent drones to Moscow, lol. No, I don't think so. I don't think it's Wagner's. I think it's like, I'm pretty sure it's Ukraine. I'm pretty sure most of people know it's Ukraine. But obviously Ukraine cannot say, because why would they? What do you think, why people are so dumb? I don't think people are dumb. Like, no, I don't think people are dumb. What? Why would you say that? People are not dumb. Some people lack knowledge. Some people are ignorant. Some people have opposing views. it's part of democracy. Like, you know, everyone matters. Like there's nothing illegal to be not smart enough. You know, it's like I don't understand when people say it's like, oh, this is just dumb and therefore like you have nothing to say. It's like if a person is dumb and for example like he didn't thought through his arguments and statements, I think it makes sense to then explain why those arguments and statements are wrong. And that's what I'm doing here. But then just dismiss it because like, oh, you're dumb, therefore like it doesn't matter. No, I don't feel that this is like a democratic way. I feel the democratic way is to have a discussion, to consider viewpoints. If the viewpoint is dumb, call it out. But call out the viewpoints, don't call out the person. There's nothing illegal in being dumb. It's like there is illegal if you're being dumb and then you're promoting conspiracy nonsense and then you are literally undermining democracy. That is where I start drawing the line, because at that moment what you're doing is literally you want me dead. Like, because you don't want other thoughts, like you don't want people expressing different thoughts, people that are saying like I'm against democracy. And why I don't want to support the people is because those are the people that are saying there's one right opinion and that's it. And this is what people that supporting Russia are saying. People that supporting Russia are literally Nazis that say this is what we want. We want the state to dictate what is right, what is wrong, and we don't want anyone else to have their say on their opinion. Everyone who is opposed our vision should be thrown in jail. Like anything. You bring out an like a poster with 2 words that says no to war, time for to go in jail. So yeah, sorry for that, for the tangent. I don't feel being dumb is a good argument. Yes. We saw what happened to Moscow, the ship or the city. So we know it's possible to sink their ships. The ship. Any thoughts why some of the ships that have been firing missiles into Ukraine haven't been similarly attacked? It was a complex operation and there were circumstances that were utilized. Basically, Russian fleet was over cocky. They acted that they have it, you know. They put themselves in a position and there were circumstances that's allowed to execute it. But it was like, you know, like a chance, like a lucky card. Like let's be honest. While Ukraine did all the right actions, a lot of that is for Russia to for Russia to blame on its own. What happened with Moscow. Should Ukraine target Putin's private residence? Yes. Like his palace near Sochi? Yes. Break his toys? Yes. Kill Putin. Fucking dictator. He's a genocidal dictator. He became like, he kills people every day. Putin kills hundreds of people every day. Every day hundreds of people die because Putin is alive. Get rid of Putin. I'm not like a, you know, I'm not a big pacifist. I'm pretty sure you already know that. It's like, I would love Putin to get to the court of law, captured and so on. But so far, it's not an option yet. So far, if Ukraine can reach Putin with drones, yes, get rid of the fucker. Yeah. Should Ukraine, okay, would buy the weapons from the commanding officers of transit. What? I don't understand the question, Jim. If you can rephrase it. Spiffy G, hopefully not too off topic. Is there any way for Zelensky, NATO, and or the EU to put enough pressure on Orban to get Hungary in line? I mean, EU already is putting pressure on Hungary. Like, if I'm not wrong, European Parliament voted today on not allowing Hungary to be because we have the cycling presidency in the European Union, and the European Parliament voted to not give the cycling presidency to Hungary because Hungary is not a democratic country. And there is like a rule of law that's been suggested, like, because Hungary is like semi-dictatorship by this point. Do you think Ukraine will send soldiers into Russian territory closer to Moscow to make the Russians more aware of the war? I don't think so. I don't think Ukraine will send its own soldiers, but Ukraine will utilize Russians. And what we're hearing so far is that Russians that were able to enter the territory of Russia, they're getting very, very popular in the territory of Russia. They're getting a lot of new recruits. So there's going to be thousands of Russians that are going to be willing. And the more Russia loses on the front lines, the more Russians there will be joining these Russian separatists, to say, like, not separatists, resistance fighters, to join them to fight against Putin's regime. Putin's regime is like going only one way. Like, it's to the shitter. Will Europe have plenty of natural gas for the upcoming winter? Yes. Lil Bobs, is killing Putin strategically useful? Yes. Or is it better to keep an idiot in charge who makes bad calls? No, I don't think so. I feel that a lot of the system in Russia is built around Putin. There is no transition of power in Russia. So getting rid of Putin instantly throws Russia into the political chaos where it's dog eat dogs. And we know that, like, if a country is losing a war and there is suddenly like political chaos, that's the end of the war. So in my view, it's better for Russians killing Russians than Russians killing Ukrainians. So that's what I think. So I think it will get really bloody if Putin is thrown in there, but it's better because Ukrainians stop dying. CZ, taking back Crimea and destroying a huge part of the Russian forces, both as major goals, rest in this strategy. Do you agree? Yes. Yes. Okay. Though I've caught up with the QA questions. If I didn't answer your question, write it again, and then I will read it through. I wonder if I can have two pop-up chats, with one being the question chat and then the other being, oh yes, I can. Perfect. Oh my God. I'm like, you know, these guys like in the science fiction movies, like Matrix, you know, where they'll have like running fonts all on different screens. And now I have the same shit. So I have like on one screen, I have like questions running, like all of the people writing questions, and then I have like a running chat on the other screen. So it's like, woo, where's my glasses so I can be like Neo? Yeah. Bosman, what would be the impact of more attacks on Belgorod by those Russian volunteer corps? What could happen inside of Russia because of it? Right now, they're still gathering forces. They don't have enough notoriety for a lot of people to join. They're still having troops. The troops, essentially, what they're doing right now is their recruiting campaign in Belgorod. In Belgorod, these Russian freedom fighters, they are executing their recruiting campaign. This recruiting campaign right now is corresponding very well with getting some of the Russian troops from the front lines towards the Belgorod region. So that is happening, some of that being moved there. And for example, today we saw the heavy fire system, the Sonsapek, being used in Belgorod region, which is great because that means there is one system less that is killing Ukrainians, and it's Russians killing Russians. Go Russians. Is Russian intelligence an oxymoron? Yeah, kinda. Yes. Could Wagner be behind drone attacks? No, I don't think so. At least I don't think so. Can it be? Potentially, maybe, but I don't think so. It's quite low. Modasir Ali, what's your opinion on Russian threatening British officials? It's nothing. Like, it's not Russian officials, it's fucking Medvedev. Like, it's Medvedev and the other. It's nonsense. Russia is yada yada yada. They don't have any pressure points. They like, no, it's nonsense. I would love Russian officials to threaten me. Like, please put me on some fucking list. I want to end this war on some fucking list. Like, for Russians. Like, block me anywhere. I don't know. Anything. Please. That would be the best recognition. That would be the Medal of Honor that I really, really want. Do you think Iranian drones should be loaded with shitters to be dropped on Russia? No. Nice. Obi-Wan, will Ukraine make an operation to take back the children Russia took from them? I think it's going to be a long process to find out all of the children. It's literally horrendous. One of the worst crimes, like, ever, like the deportation of children, the deprivement of them from their like, you know, of their identity. That's just sickening. It's just like, like this is one of the things that gets really my blood boiling, like the fact that they're just stealing children's, like indoctrinating them, like turning them into these zombies, like fucking like making them hug the people that destroyed their own cities, bombed their cities, killed their friends, killed their family. It's just sickening. Like it's like it's crazy. It's even worse than, like, for example, seeing on a trial. Imagine, like, there's a murder victim that was able, to escape or something, like, or his friend was murdered, and then like he's put on the trial in the same cage with the murderer itself. Like, how sick would be that? And now it's even worse. Just oof. How will Ukraine take back ZPP from Russia? ZPP is the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. With prejudice. What is exactly is or was Ukraine waiting for to start the counteroffensive? We don't know the full information, but there was a number of factors: delivery of equipment, readiness of forces, enough shape battlefield. The counteroffensive technically already started. It's just the big loud part of the counteroffensive is not yet started. So, and weather, and now weather is there. Last 2 days there was huge rains, by the way, in Ukraine. Like a lot of rain, was like a lot of Zaporizhia was like overflowing with water. So now there's like needs a day at least to dry up. Germany is now fully on board supplying military equipment. Yes. What do you think changed in German thinking? I think balls. They grew some balls. I think they saw that the red lines that Putin says is nonsense. I believe that once we overcame winter and it became completely clear that winter is not a threat economically. So after economic independence was set out, that was a major thing. And I think just generally they changed the what is called the defense minister. So I think the once Petraeus came into power, the discussion around defense spending and defense support for Ukraine just became a lot more productive. I believe there was a lot of blocking from the previous defense minister from Germany. Yeah. Espen Shampoo. As a fellow Scandinavian, I jumped when you all of a sudden spoke Danish. I'm listening while working. I thought, what the hell is he talking about? Sorry, dear brother, say Denmark. Yeah, but I'm not a fellow Scandinavian. I'm not Scandinavian, man. I'm Latvian. I just live in Denmark. Live and work. Denmark is a beautiful place. I'm so happy to be here. So privileged. Denmark helped me a lot. I love this country. What do you think? Russians remain willingly ignorant to the facts. Russians are docile. If you're talking about the populations, they will believe what the how do you say? Russian system is built on loyalty, and loyalty is mean like blind loyalty. So you believe what the person above you says. If a person above you says black is white and white is black, the person that goes further in his career is the person that says, yes, I agree. And with a lot of these yes men all down the chain that Putin has built, this is where the Russia is. That's why switching, like, who is the commander of the military and so on, doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter. Because that is the whole system that Putin has built. And the whole system is built on this, like that you believe blindly what the person above you says, and you don't question it. How likely is it for Ukraine to cut the Lang Bridge in Crimea in 2033? Very likely. What do you think Russians remain... okay. Macron stated yesterday that negotiations with Putin could take priority over war crimes, that if he's the only person in the West negotiate at the end of the war. Your thoughts? Macron is wrong. Macron, I'm not sure where is this coming from again. He still doesn't fully understand the situation. And I don't feel that there's going to be any negotiations with Putin. I don't feel that there's like... If the only way negotiation with Putin will go is that he will be locked in chains, sitting on the bench in Hague, and then he will be brought documents to sign off for the full capitulation or like reparations or something. In that sense, yes, I agree. Like if what Macron stated is that we need Putin to sign the documents and then get the fuck out, yes, fine by me. The question about taking out two 160 strategic bombers was whether or not that would cross a Russian red line, since a few strategic bombers were already damaged, destroyed. Answer is no. Yeah, I don't think so. Russia has no red lines. Like, it's all bullshit. It's all nonsense. Why don't someone pay the Russians in Transnistria to fuck off when shoot the bar stewards that want? What? I'm going to go to holiday on Ukraine once the war is over to see the historical location, enjoy the beaches and cultures. I do not speak Ukrainian, only English. How will I fare? I also enjoy a beer. You will have a great time. You will have an excellent time. We need to understand, Matthew, that there's going to be a boom of visitors. Like, you're not the only one thinking that. Let me put you that. And tourist industry will adapt very fast, very fast. You will have great time. Just make sure to be aware of scammers. And the best part is to make friends with Ukrainians. Some of the Ukrainians are speaking English, and they will be able to guide you around. You can always write me on my email, ukrainematters2022@gmail.com when you go, and I will try to find you a guide or something, okay? Like, I will be there for you guys even after the war is over. So if you'll need anything that I can help you out with, no joke, seriously, just write me a mail. I'll figure it out. Did you talk about Lukashenko? Yes, it's mostly hoax. How about his son flying to China? Any ideas? I mean, Lukashenko is trying to kind of get security guarantees from China. That has been the thing that he was doing for a while now. Kadyrov's troops are unreliable. Will Ukraine strike hard at them? Ukraine will strike at any troops that is located on the territory of Ukraine. All Russian troops on the territory of Ukraine will be thrown out or killed by Ukrainians or captured. No question, just wanted to congrats on 80K. Thanks, Janine. How are you doing, by the way, guys, Janine. Oh, good point. Janine. If I had some, I believe Ali has thrown to me like some of the Janine's PayPal. Let me pin this comment. Let's see if I can pin this. So, guys, if you have some money to spare, and if you want to, donate to some kind of good cause, you can help Janine. And Janine is going to Ukraine to work at the Magic Kitchen in Ukraine. It's amazing guys that are providing food for the troops on the front line. They are providing to the people on the front lines. For example, when Kherson was liberated, the Magic Kitchen was one of the first people that came into the Kherson city and started essentially making food for the locals, because when Russians left, they robbed the supermarkets, they took all the food, they turned out all of the electricity, they turned out water. So there was like literally very hard to survive in Kherson after that. So Janine really needs your help to maybe help her get to Ukraine and get to support. So if you have like some tenor to spend or something, please, I pinned the message for Janine to get to Ukraine and start working. She is a reliable person. Like, I can vouch for her like with all my reliability. If you trust me, trust Janine, trust in Armed Forces of Ukraine as well. Okay, so there is that. It's good that you wrote, Janine, by the way. Thank you so much. All right, where was I? Did you see Belarus kids camp and Wagner sledgehammer? That is sick. Yeah, I mean, I already mentioned the kids. Will Ukraine reach Crimea during this offensive? It is possible. Do you think Russia will eventually use nuclear weapons? No. Let's say Ukraine forces begin counteroffensive towards Berdyansk or Melitopol and Russian forces withdraw to Crimea. Will Ukraine armed forces bomb Kerch Bridge right away to trap them? Yes. I think they will. I think they will trap it. I think they will trap it and they will start destroying the forces. Crimea will become a big-ass trap for Russians. In your opinion, what caused 2010 Smolensk air disaster? I don't know. Probably Russians. Wouldn't be like surprised by it. But it needs investigation. It needs proper investigation. Like really importantly. Totally off topic, but do you know if there are any plans in Kiev? It's Kiev, not Kiev. Let's be very clear. It's Kiev, not Kiev. To remove that Soviet hammer and sickle symbol from the shield of the big statue. Yes, it's already been discussed, and I believe it's been voted on that it's going to be replaced by the trident. Or a coat of arms of Ukraine. I believe it's like the coat of arms of Ukraine is not just the trident. I believe it's something more complex, but yeah. The biggest problem of the counteroffensive is probably the large amounts of POWs. What do you think Ukraine have wild space groups? Ukraine has prepared camps for the POWs that are overseen and monitored by the external people, like civilian sector, and like taking care of that. Ukraine has the manpower to do that. Don't worry about it. Are you still celebrating Latvia's bronze medal win in hockey? Yes. Um, yes. Why not pay the Russians? Okay. Many Ukrainians left, but will many return to rebuild their country? Yes. Of the Russians that left, many will return after the war, considering that they will be back into it. Yes, yes, yes. Many Ukrainians really want to return to Ukraine. Many Ukrainians. Many Ukrainians. Have you ever been threatened to you directly having shit come from Russian government? Unfortunately, not from Russian government. Just people like doing like, standard YouTube stuff like death threats, threats to family, like stuff like that. Like people sending like pictures of like the city that I live in, yada yada, stuff like that. Like we know where you live, like death threats. But nothing too fancy. I think that just comes with YouTube. So I knew what I was doing. Like I knew that Russians, like I know that they come, but like to be honest, I think I'm quite low in the priority list for targets. There are plenty of people that Russians would kill before me. Matthew, thanks so much for 20 pounds. 20 pounds, appreciate it. 20 quid. Thanks for 20 quid. If the war ends this year, how long will it take for Ukraine to rebuild? It's faster than you think. Like technologies have advanced really fast, so we will see Ukraine being rebuilt. I believe within 5 years, Ukraine will be flourishing. The only thing is the minefields. That will take a while. It's probably been asked before, but what is your plan with the channel after Ukraine wins this war? I don't know, David. I don't know. Like, I will look out different niches. I still support democracy, maybe some political commentary. I really want to go to Ukraine and make like the whole series about like where was the battles and so on. But I think I'm expecting the channel to kind of like, well, pretty much die, because as much as I'm an interesting person, I'm pretty sure that most of you are here for Ukraine, not for me. Like, and as much as there are 80,000 subscribed, I'm pretty sure they're subscribed because the channel is Ukraine Matters and Ukraine is in war. So after Ukraine war is over, we'll see how many of it left. Like, I will try to see and do something that I want. I will still be supporting Ukraine. Like, one of my major ideas, like that I want to do myself, is go to Ukraine and kickstart some of the business in Ukraine, to start working, maybe highlighting some businesses, trying to connect, Westerners with some of the entrepreneurs in Ukraine, do stuff like that. Because like I'm a corporate guy. Like I know corporations, I know data, I know money. That's my kind of talk. So I think maybe going to Ukraine, connecting stuff, we'll see. Stuff like that. Okay, where was it? Oh, yes. Maybe certain veterans can benefit from the tourism by being guides. Yeah, potentially. I mean, they did, like, for example, they have the whole chain of restaurants, which is called Veterano Pizza. It's like pizzerias that are literally built by the veterans of the Ukrainian war with Russia. Can you get Beth Hodges for discussion? He's great. Maybe I will. I already, it was discussed. I'm looking into it. Hi, mate. What action should be taken if South Africa hosts Putin to refuse to hand him to ICC? Well, that's the question to bigwigs. For me, so far in this conflict, we've seen that the what was placed in the world to kind of take control of the world big powers has completely failed. So for me, the whole international justice system is a little bit of a joke. So I am more of a believer in in defensive blocks. Let's say I believe in NATO. I believe in NATO and NATO countries and democracy standing together. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think a lot of these ideas that like we have like world peace and we have powers that will oversee world peace, unfortunately, has shown itself to be kind of a joke. But I think some kind of legal procedures should be started against, obviously, if Putin is not handed out, because Putin will lose, but the effects of it will stay. What are potential escalation for parts of Russia at this point? None. Are the kidnapped children, the power plant, the weapon sticks in Moldova effective hostages, and can it be overcome? No, they're not effective hostages, and they only produce more anger in Ukrainians. Budanov, the Kamura merch when? Soon. Budanov merch definitely coming, though I'm not sure if I can use Budanov liking. Like, I'm pretty sure Budanov can sue me for copyright infringement by taking his liking. So I'm going to be very careful with that. But I will see. Maybe I'm going to be too small. And besides, it's for a good cause. We're going to be donating half of the profits from the shop to Ukrainian military. How many of the Ukrainians who have left the country will, I think, yeah, a lot of them return. Yeah. Looking at the options, I suspect Ukraine may bypass the 5 layers of defense by driving the Vuhledar Strait into Mariupol, completely bypassing Russian defensive efforts. What do you think? I don't know. I haven't studied in details. I don't have the full information on like, we don't like, because to consider defenses, you need to know fully what the enemy has, and you also need to know what you have. Like, if you don't have the assessment of resources from the enemy side in full and from your own side in full, and I think we know even less about what forces Ukraine has. I know we have 20 brigades, for example, closer to 20 brigades, but it still is not clear enough. And besides, I'm an amateur guy. Like, I'm not a military strategist. So I can only tell you what I've heard the analysts that I have trusted that they have proven precise and accurate predictions and delivered on their results. What they are saying, this is what I can say to you. So is it a potential axis of attacks? Yes. But the whole plan can and is known only by Zaluzhny and maybe a couple of men near to him. Nick Owen, thanks so much for 5 gifted subs, and thank you for thank you for giving subs. Hey, Janine got a gifted sub. Hey, Janine, welcome to being a member. Appreciate it. And Cyberspaces, thank you so much. Welcome to Brother in Arms. How many of the Ukrainians who have left the country will and will not return after? Like, that's the third time you're asking the question, as I already said it. Like, many will return. Many will return. Looking at the options, I suspect Ukraine may... Okay. In Kherson, the armed forces of Ukraine were under-equipped and under-trained, but they did have the element of surprise. To an extent, I mean, like, I think Kherson offensive was quite telegraphed. I don't agree that there was an element of surprise. Like, guys, chat, please correct me on this, but I'm pretty sure everyone and their dogs knew that Ukraine is going to attack Kherson. I'm pretty sure about that. So I don't really feel that Ukraine really had an element of surprise in Kherson. Thoughts on the Latvian presidential election results? Very good. Very, very, very good. Thanks, Rune. By the way, really missing you. Hope you can visit me once again. So Latvian presidential results are really encouraging because Edgar Sinkevich is first openly gay person in Latvian, like kind of like political scene, like at least to an extent. And the fact that he is continuing his career is very encouraging. Latvia is a country that struggled with, because a lot of protectionism against the Russians goes hand in hand with a lot of very far right rhetoric. Like, for example, that we need to protect the country against all of the LGBTQ plus. Like, so there is not enough liberalism. I would love to see personal freedom not be part of a discussion that we need to be more protective of a Latvian culture and language. So for me, I think it's good because Edgar Rinkevich is kind of in a nice place as a person. That is, he's supporting Ukraine, he's supporting Latvian culture, Latvian language, but he's also part of the LGBTQ plus crowd, so community. Sorry, and besides, it's June, it's Pride Month, so who doesn't like that? Jaga Jaga, the sun. Thanks so much, David. Thanks so much for $20 as well. Eric, welcome to Brother in Arms. Appreciate this. Spiffy G, $10. Thank you so much. Welcome, welcome. Sub Hero, nice seeing you again. Thanks so much for 10 leva. Is Putin the worst, or is it possible that there could be someone even more diabolical lurking in the shadows? There can always be someone worse. The problem is that Putin right now is killing a lot of Ukrainians. So it's a current threat. Okay, is Putin the worst? What do you think a better outcome? Ukraine beating them, or the battlefield, or the Russian state dissolving? What are implications? Best scenario: Putin gets out of Ukraine and then pays reparations and surrenders to the International Criminal Court. The best case scenario. Happy Pride. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for 20 euros. A Data Odyssey. Thoughts on the Latvian presidential? What do you think better? Okay, do you think they will rebuild the destroyed cities? Yeah, probably, though it will take some effort. It will take some effort. Is Putin the worst, or is it possible that there could be someone even more diabolical? Okay, I read that, sorry. Hey, Georgie, it's John Richards. Still thinking you're amazing. I know I have been with your channel for the start of this. I have sent cash and supply to you. The way am I banned from Discord? I'm not sure. I will look into it, John. I'm not sure. I don't follow too much Discord moderation. Cards on the table, I don't follow a lot of Discord moderation. I barely have time to gather information and prepare YouTube videos for you. Sometimes I'm a peer of Discord, like I read what you write, guys, and so on, but I don't follow closely Discord moderation. I trust my mods. So if you're banned, probably there was a good reason. I can look into it, but no promises. Do you have any guesses who the major factions... And also, let's be very clear, guys. Let's be very, 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 very clear. If you're supporting me or you're supporting Ukraine, don't use this as a leverage against me. I will not accept this as a leverage against me. If you are donating money to me, or even better, to the armed forces of Ukraine, good on you. You're doing a great job. But don't expect me that this is going to be meaning that I will treat you in any kind of special way, or you will get extra privilege, or you will have like a say and you will be able to have, you know, like say something anti-Semitic or like be whatever. That is not how it works. I already discussed this when we had the Patreon discussion, that what I want is I am extending the love to my whole community. Like every single one of you matters for me, right? And money is nice, but just because someone has money doesn't mean that it makes them better than the people that cannot afford right now any kind of disposable income. Everyone really matters. So good, like I don't know why you're banned from Discord, man, but please don't refrain from using, oh, I donated you, I supported you, whatnot, as a leverage against me. I support my whole community. My whole community is supporting me. 80 fucking thousand subscribe to my channel. 80 fucking thousand. Crazy. Okay. Do you have any guesses who the major factions will be after the Russian civil war breaks out? Guesses, yes. Like there are the oligarch groups that have been preparing their own private armies. Obviously, Kadyrov, Wagner, some of the local separatist forces. Liberals will eat shit. Then this Freedom Russia Legion, yes. Also this small Russia Muscovites nationalist state, these Russian volunteer corps that they not corps, sorry, people have corrected me multiple times. The Russian volunteer corps, they are also a force to be reckoned with. So for sure. Do you have any idea what's going on in India? No. No, I don't. I don't. India is so far away from my comfort zone to talk about, so I cannot say. I only know that India cares about India, so that's like I can give you perspective on India in a sense of Ukraine, but not in a sense of what I think is happening inside of it. Would be a nice channel if you know what's happening inside India. Start India Matters channel. Questions about why doesn't Ukraine pay Russia, whether Transnistria on the east meant why not offer to pay 2,000 per month to Russians to surrender since many risks death to 3,000 a month. Well, Moldova doesn't have the money. Ukraine doesn't have the money. Who's going to pay the money, Tom? So the question is, who's going to pay the money? So far, it's unclear. How many people who have not lived in Ukraine before the war will move there to help rebuild after? It's been considering it. I think I definitely hear a lot of desire for people to invest in Ukraine. I'm not sure about moving. Like Ukraine is a very interesting country, and it's definitely not for everyone. You need to understand that we have a lot of very a little bit overhyped what kind of a country Ukraine is. Ukraine has a lot of issues. Right? We don't talk about the issues because they don't matter at this point. Like, for example, like the high level of corruption or high level of governance government influence on business. Because those things, like none of those things excuse mass murdering and genocide to be committed on that country. And Ukraine has been doing a great job trying to suppress all of that during the wartime. But once the wartime is over, we go back, and then there's going to be a big question like what kind of country Ukraine will become. And this can produce good results, but this also can produce bad results. So we need to be very, very, very realistic on what kind of country Ukraine will become. Is going to come through a difficult stage of rediscovering its place in a world in a peaceful time. It's going to be a whole new discussion, a whole new word. So be very careful with what your expectations are of Ukraine outside of the war scenario. But I think the more Western people will come to Ukraine, the more Western influence we will have in Ukraine, the better it is, because that will help build Ukraine as a country that will be more aligned with our expectations. Worst thing we can do is just say, now you're Ukraine, deal with it your own. Like abandoning Ukraine would be the worst thing we can do, and it will result in Ukraine that will be very problematic for us in the West in the peaceful times. But again, those questions right now completely doesn't matter. Starsky is upset that there is no arrest warrant out for him by Russia. Can we help him out? I hope, like, please, guys, let's do. Can we do? Can you ask anyone in community to start not GoFundMe, but what is the Change.org petition to put Starsky and me on the arrest or wanted list in Russia? Can we start a Change.org petition? That would be so helpful. Like, that would be so nice. Like if we can get and send it to yeah, hashtag arrest Starsky. New hashtag trending from today, like hashtag arrest Starsky. So there we go. Both me and Starsky put on the arrest list in Russia, and we'll send it to the Russian government officially. Once it gets enough signatures, we'll send it to the Russian government. I think that would be noble objective. Let's do that. Let's do that. Hashtag arrest Starsky. Yes. Combined Poland-Ukraine state has been muted. Do you think it's realistic? No. No need. No need. Benjamin, because we had some kind of a precedent. We had a discussion in the Baltics after we left the Russian-controlled Soviet Union. The Baltics have been discussing like a very close cooperation, almost like this like small Benelux, like, you know, almost like not a union state, but like very, very close, like to have a close cooperation. A lot of these discussions became completely irrelevant once we joined the European Union. European Union provides a very, very good close framework for cooperation between countries. So there is no need to invent anything else. And in that, there is no need for a combined state. That said, there is still like going to be a very warm relationships between GoFundMe arrest Starsky. Okay, yeah, GoFundMe is kind of fun. Yeah, hashtag arrest Starsky GoFundMe. Okay, nice. Arrest Ukraine. Arrest Ukraine. Yeah. Arrest Ukraine matter doesn't roll out of the tongue as hashtag arrest Starsky. Yeah. But hashtag arrest Starsky, arrest Ukraine matters for sure. Yes. What do you think South Africa giving... I already answered that. I answered it a little bit before. Sorry for no context. I'm mason, carpenter, and mechanic with my family from politics. Sure, one grail, but what was the question? No problem with no context, but what's the question? Myron M. How many thousand? Fucking 80,000. That's how many thousand. Benjamin. What are the chances of Putin falling out of the window? Well, I've heard they're becoming quite dangerous, especially in very tall buildings. Andrew's gonna crack up when he starts seeing hashtag arrest Starsky around the YouTube for sure. For sure. Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. What do you think about ex-Pink Floyd member Roger Waters? He's a Nazi supporter. Like, Roger Waters supports genocide and Nazis. That's what I can say about it. I was one of that asked about moving to Ukraine, and I'm a tradesman. Ah, got it. Yeah. Like, oh my God, man. Like, you can make, like, one of the big places, like, in the world where people make, like, hundreds and thousands, millions of dollars is post-war countries. Because Ukraine, when the war ends with a just peace, is going to be booming economically. So if you even don't know the language and you're moving to Ukraine and you have like this kind of specialty like carpenter, masonry, you can like not just make a living, you can like make millions, open your own company, whatnot. Like you can really build like a whole thing there. So yes, do come. Janine, thank you so much for the shout out. I really appreciate it. Janine, thank you so much for actually like being one of those people that decide to contribute their own time and effort. Like, don't thank me. It's for me to thank you, please. Please thank everybody who donated. Thank you so much who donated and who will donate. Thank you so much who will donate. Like, remember, I attached Janine's credentials at the comment above. So hashtag arrest Starsky, hashtag support Janine, whatever. That's the last of the questions that I had in my Q&A. I think I will stop the Q&A. Can I end the Q&A? Yes. So I'm gonna end the Q&A. That was a nice stream, guys. Hope it was nice. More videos to come. Please expect more from me once the counteroffensive starts. I'm gonna be doing more frequent updates, more special episodes. Will be more. I'm gonna be covering this in details. I will keep you always updated. Remember, if you have any issues that needs like solving, like how to like get to know someone in Ukraine and so on, or anything else, reach out to me. Like I sometimes answer slowly because there's a lot of mails in my mailbox, but I would hope to help you out. This week, I'm not going to be on the shills this week. By the way, good point. This week, we should have 2 streams, one on Saturday, one on Sunday. On Saturday, we should have a stream with Andrew Mercado. And then on Sunday, we should have the stream with Rick the Ukrainian. So here's a little bit heads up. I will still post it. I will post the updates. Trust in the armed forces of Ukraine. Remember to keep me accountable for the 2,000 that I bet if it's not going to happen in 10 days. Hashtag Arestarski. I love you all, guys. Slava Ukraini. And I will see you next time.